A wonderful good morning to you, Grenada, Caribbean, Martinique, the rest of the Eastern Caribbean. To you, wherever you are, it is Friday, the 13th. Some say Black Friday, but for me, it's just a glorious Friday, and I'm happy to be alive, and I'm happy to be sharing the experience of living with you. I'm Joseph Cadore, and welcome to another edition of To The Point. I want to say thanks to our viewers that's rejoining us on television, and those of you that's on radio, that's on Classic, 105.5 or 105.9. We say thanks to you. If you're on cable, you're on channel 20, that is. And those of you that's chiming in via our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, I want to say good morning to you and thanks for being part of this morning's conversation. As intimated, our conversation is going to be solely and strictly about October 19th. On October 19th, in the context of events to mark the day that's been planned by the National Celebrations Committee. And I want us to be clear on that so that we can appreciate, if you do, I know you have questions as to how the program is going to unfold. Wonderful. My guest this morning, she is the chairperson of the National Celebrations Committee, Jacqueline Alexis, and she's joined by one of her supporting cast as part of the celebration. It's a team that makes the effort possible, Gail, Purcell. Good morning, ladies. Welcome to the program. How are you doing?
Good morning, and we're doing fine, thank you.
Good morning, Joseph.
Excellent.
Good morning to your listeners and your viewers.
October 19th, I know once we hear historically, there is, well, it is said, depending on what side of the fence you're on, it takes on a sentimental tone, right? But certainly, as we progress as a nation, we get to a point of maturity where we need to recognize and pay homage to those who've marked the way. And those milestones in our history may not be as bright as we wanted to, but it happened. So over the last, I think it's been argued that the day itself, it seems to come and go, Gail, and not much people seem to recognize what's the purpose of the day. And I know for the Celebrations Committee, we're trying to do a 180 in that, Jackie. And there's a lot of plans and efforts that has gone into ensuring that October 19th, 2023 is one that would be remembered forever for a whole lot of reasons. Let's start that conversation.
Well, of course, Joseph, first of all, we're celebrating 40 years this year of the events of 1983, so it's important to recognise that. But I think the first thing I want to highlight is the fact that it has been made a public holiday by the government of Grenada, and it has been declared as National Heroes Day. And I think that's a critical point to acknowledge that the government are seeing the importance of the nation reflecting, remembering and honouring the loss of some of our citizens on that day, and moving forward, recognising that as Heroes Day, so our heroes are not just about the past, but also the present and what's to come in the future. So it's a legacy-leaving moment.
Gail, you agree with that? Public holiday? It's been a back and forth conversation for quite some time.
Yeah. I think it's only fitting that, and I think Jackie put it well, that it's accepting that we've had a past, and there are things that we need to start to dialogue about. We need to ensure that we pass on that information, and we need to mark it in a way that, even though as the population who may have been directly impacted by those events are aging themselves, we don't want that moment in time to be lost by that. We want to ensure that this is an opportunity for teaching. It's an opportunity to ensure that this remains etched in our memories, and as a nation that we always take a moment to stop and reflect. And it's not only about the events. Heroes Day itself is not particularly about the events that happen on that day. It is using a day that is significant in our history to mark, and then going forward, we're going to be acknowledging, identifying who will be proclaimed as national heroes. But we're marking it on a day that is very solemn in our history and our past.
And very often we chide our young people for not appreciating our history. And I keep saying it's not a failure of them.
No.
It's we have not given them an opportunity to create that avenue that allows them to say, let's stop and reflect. Let's stop and reflect. So let's fast forward and let's highlight some of the, well, of course we established it's going to be a public holiday, and not just a public holiday in 2023.
No.
It's going to be permanently on our calendars. So 19th of May is going to be a public, 19th of October is going to be a public holiday, and would forever be known as Heroes Day. What are some of the activities that's planned as part of that celebration, Jackie?
Well, on the morning of the 19th of October, we will hold an ecumenical service in the Kirani James Athletic Stadium, another one of our heroes, and that will be led by some of our church leaders, of course, and will take the form of a church service. So that will, give us time to reflect, give us time to pray and remember the events. And then we will move into the second section of the morning, which will include PBC choir will sing for us. We will also have the National Folk Group. We will also have poetry. We will have a performance from the production Redemption Time by Urias Peters. They're going to be doing a scene from the production which revolves specifically around the day of the 19th of October 1983. And given that we're inviting all of our schools and our school children, bringing in our school children from across the country, that in itself is going to be a good educational element to the morning, and raise awareness, and we're very happy that we're able to bring our young people and give them an opportunity to understand where we've come from, what our history is, and where we're going. And of course, we know that Grenadian history is now being taught as part of the curriculum in schools. So again, this all comes back and joins together. So we're very happy about that. It will also include some remarks by family members of some of the victims of the 19th. We have been in consultation with the Maurice Bishop October 19th Martyrs Foundation, and they have joined and supported the work the activity that we're rolling out on the 19th, and will be present at the event. There'll be an address by the Prime Minister. And so it'll be a good opportunity for reflection, remembrance, and honouring our lost loved ones.
It's really it's a national event, and that's what we want to convey, that people understand that it is open for all. Historically, I think events on October 19th have been attended by a small few. We want to give it a national presence that it's deserving of, and this is the opportunity to do that. Because we won't be naming any heroes, national heroes, this year. The year coming, 2024, as we mark our 50th anniversary of independence, that period is going to be the process has already started, but between now and the next October 19th, solidifying the process for identifying national heroes will take place. There is legislation that guides it. There has to be criteria. There will be, dialogue about how this will happen, so that the public is clear about what the process will be. And obviously, everybody's going to have individual thoughts of who should be a national hero. But I think the permanency of such a title is very important, that the criteria for naming individuals as national heroes needs to be properly vetted and discussed and thoroughly thought through and reviewed before it is finalized. So that's what this process between now and next year is really going to allow the time for. But as it is the 40th year, marking the events that transpired on October 19th, it was fitting And I think it was time to say that, because if we look at the population, our population, how many of them are under 40?
More than just 60. The last survey said 60, 65.
Yeah.
So they have no idea.
No idea. No idea of what really happened. And the unfortunate thing is it has not been a concerted effort in teaching. So I think it's opportune and it's the right time. Certainly there have been voices over the years calling for this, and I think it's been a responsive administration who has listened and taken into consideration the importance of our history and made that day. Some
though of the school of thought that the 2 days, they are fearful that the 2 days may start rivaling each other, because historically, while the 25th was a holiday and it's been called to the 19th, all of a sudden now some are saying, depending again how history rolled out, because the truth is that period is there's still a lot of gray areas. Depending on who you ask, what happened, what transpired, you will hear some varying stories. As a committee, are you worried that the 19 people now start thinking 1925 and it creates another divide?
I don't think so. I'm not worried about it. I think that National Heroes Day will remain National Heroes Day on the 19th, and it will always be marked moving forward. And Thanksgiving also has its place, and so Thanksgiving on the 25th will also be marked. And I think that people appreciate now that there is two sides to every story, right? So we are acknowledging and honouring both sides of that story, and I think that is the way to move forward with it.
In case you're just joining us, it's 24 minutes gone past the hour. Welcome. This is To The Point this morning, and we talk on plans surrounding Heroes Day. If you are wondering what is Heroes Day, we celebrate it on the 19th of October, which of course is established as a public holiday going forward. So we talk about some of the ecumenical service. There's more.
There's more.
But I know certainly there must be a lot
finished
more.
Yet. well, later on in the day, at 1 p.m, there will be a tolling of all the church bells across the country. So at that point, at 1 o'clock, when the bells toll out, we are asking the nation to join with us in a minute's silence. So wherever you are, at home, at work, at play, wherever you might be, at that moment when the bells start to ring, we're asking the whole nation to come together as one and acknowledge a minute's silence in reflection and remembrance of the events of the 19th of October 1983. And so that would end the kind of first part of the day, and then later on in the day, we will gather on the Carenage at 7 p.m. for a candlelit vigil. And once again, it's just a moment in time for us to come together as a nation and remember and reflect and honour. So and that would complete our day.
Complete the day. Yeah.
I'm thinking, Gail, the hope is that at the end of the day's event, it brings us closer to people, where we may not necessarily agree on some things, but we can respect each other's side and position on those issues.
I think what this is doing too is allowing for dialogue. Allowing for dialogue, and as we made the point earlier, that so many of our population is below the age of 40, that they really don't even know where they sit in the dialogue, right? And the sides of the story really come from those who were there for the events, and hearing what transpired, understanding what transpired, starting to learn. This is a teaching opportunity. A teaching opportunity for our younger ones. And quite frankly, we're not talking about school children here. We're talking about adults who need to learn, who need to understand what transpired. And I think it's a part of our history that we have been fearful of broaching, and we need to confront the difficult memories in life sometimes to be able to ensure. And if we don't have an understanding of what happened, how do we prevent it from happening again? You know, and I think it is a day in our history that we don't ever want to see repeated. And the only way we're going to ensure that is if we tell the stories, we use it as a teaching moment. And so with that, I am really encouraging teachers, parents, grandparents, our seniors in the community to ensure that you bring your daughter, your son, your nephew, your grandchild, your student to the event, to that ecumenical service in the National Stadium at 9 a.m. on that day. This was a holiday that nobody was planning for, right? The nation generally didn't know it was going to happen. So you shouldn't have any other plans.
I think also that we should also see this as an opportunity to start to heal, to forgive. We will never forget, and that's the whole point of having this occasion, is that we never forget what our history is and where we've come from. But at the same time, as a nation, we need to be unified. And I hope this is an opportunity for some who are still, experiencing the pain of that day, to be able to begin some kind of a healing process and a process of forgiveness.
I think we all agree that it is long overdue, but how long and how a person heals is based. It's individual, and it is just dependent on them. But I certainly hope that it would be a starting point. Indeed, a starting point. One of the points we have to labor on a bit, though. I mean, I know the issue of the history, the chronicling of our history. And where, because there's been various schools of thought. There have been conversations in the past with the Reconciliation Committee, different reports. But yet, though, Gail and Jackie, when the time comes around, it's a case whereby it is more sentiments that takes over than facts. And I think that adds to the quandary and the issue of our young people. Because the older ones are arguing, and they're stuck in the middle, not knowing, and when they hear the conversation, it just seems so diluted. Yeah.
So the documentation of our history. I mean, I think one other positive step that we can look at, that Dr. Nicole Phillip has just released her book it's a junior history.
It's a journey to our history.
Journey to our history, right? And that is a forward-moving step. It's the first step into ensuring that history is brought back into the classroom in a meaningful way, in a way that reflects our stories. And I think that is what all of this, much of what we are looking at from our 50th celebration, is to be able to reclaim that right to tell our stories. And really be able to dialogue about it and ensure that it's ingrained going forward. Because 50 years from now, I don't think any of us sitting
won't be here.
Not very likely. Right?
I'm playing my cards. I'll be here. I play my cards right.
Well, let's hope. If it's here to tell the story
of the day we came here.
The day that we came here 50 years from now. And I would love that. But the point is that it's marking that journey. That how do we want the next 50 years to look? What do we want to ensure happens?
So it's less about the past and more of that which is to come.
Yeah, and I think we always have to be looking forward. We have to be learning from what happened in our past. So in order to learn from what happened in our past, we have to know it, we have to understand it. But then taking that information and looking forward, what do we want to do? How do we want us to look, feel, and be 50 years from now? And I think our journey at the mark of 50 should encompass much of forward thinking and forward looking. Where do we want to be? What do we want to leave as our legacy as the adults here now, directing the ship? How do we want to groom our young people as parents, as teachers, as guardians, to move forward, and what do they have to look forward to in the next 50 years? So it's a really, the young people, they have an opportunity to be something that's a first. and a significant first. And I want the 16-year-old, 20 years from now to be able, because they'll only be 36, right? To say that I was at the first event that marked National Heroes Day. And I think as parents, as teachers, as educators, anything that we are, I think we have a responsibility to ensure that they can own that piece of history and ensure that they are there to mark it with the nation.
That pivotal moment in time. We'll take a quick commercial break. When we come back, though, the fact that it has been named Heroes Day, we did establish that there will be no naming of heroes, but I think it's also an important time to start thinking and documenting not just the heroes or whichever side, who the individuals who on either side of history that's reflected on the 19th to the 25th, but think long and hard of all of the heroes that have played their part, and very often they go more like unsung heroes than anything else. 29 minutes onto the hour of 10 o'clock. We take a quick commercial break, then we continue with the conversation and we open up the telephone lines.
More chances to multiply your Playway winnings by adding Multi-X to your regular Playway bets to win up to 5 times more. Imagine winning as much as $1,200 instead of $240 with a $10 Playway bet by simply adding Multi-X. Place your Playway bets from $1 to $10 or in increments on your favorite Playway symbols or numbers. Then add the Multi-X option at the same value to win 2 times, 3 times, 5 times more. Or free plays. With Multi-X, you must bet the same amount wagered on your regular Playway bets for your winnings to be multiplied. Grenadians, value your dreams and win your way as much as 5 times more. With Multi-X added to Playway and watch your money grow. Must be 18 years or older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.
Join the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, Fisheries and Cooperatives for the observance of World Food Day celebrations October 16th to 20th, 2023 under the theme Water is Life, Water is Food, Leave No One Behind. Monday, October 16th, the minister's address to the nation and panel discussion dissecting the issue of water management and sustainability. Tuesday, Eating Water campaign with the distribution of water-based foods at strategic locations throughout Grenada. Wednesday and Thursday, virtual engagement on water management and the blue economy. The town of Grenville will then come alive on Friday, October 20th. Official ceremony, grand exhibition, and culture show. World Food Day celebrations 2023, embracing all in the sustainable management of our water resources, celebrating our farmers, vendors, agro-processors, and value chain partners. World Food Day celebrations, October 16th to the 20th, 2023.
Introducing the NIS Dream Loan, where possibilities are boundless and your aspirations are our priority. No matter where life takes you, NIS Dream Loans are here to make your dreams a reality. From purchasing your first plot of land or dream property to renovating spaces, building your home, and seamlessly switching mortgages, we cater to every step of your journey. And here's what sets us apart. We offer easy financing options with competitive interest rates, quick approval processes, and flexible repayment terms. So why wait? Apply now and let our dedicated NIS team guide you through this exciting journey. Visit nisgrenada.org/dream loan or call 440-3309 to book an appointment. Terms and conditions apply. Your dream awaits.
Welcome back to the program, To The Point, for today, the 13th day of the month of October. We go straight to the telephone lines. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Good morning. Good morning to you, JC.
Hey, good morning to you, sir.
And to your guests and to your followers as well. First of all, let me say how relieved I am that good sense prevailed and we didn't have the launch of something which should be celebrated, clashing with a somber moment that should be remembered or commemorated, because a celebration is not the same as a commemoration. So first of all, that's out of the way. Common sense has prevailed. Now on the matter of on the 19th, there are many times when heroes are people who have accomplished great things in their field of work and other things like that. But in this case, it's a much more sensitive situation where I know it's happening on the 19th, so we cannot escape this. It's happening at a time when many people lost their lives. It's controversial and it's sensitive in many ways, so we have to handle that very carefully. But it's still not a celebration, although I heard one of your guests mention it as a celebration. To me, I think it's a commemoration. It's a somber, very sad, reflective moment. And my question is, what steps are going to be taken by the powers that be to ensure that that day is not just another holiday, another beach day, another day of DJs and parties? You know, what is going to be put in place in terms of restrictions, what hours people can do certain things, to make sure that that day is treated with the respect that it truly deserves.
Thank you, Caller.
That's my question.
Ladies?
I think that's a very genuine concern, and it is a concern for any holiday, and I think that is why the call really is for people to take that moment to understand what is the reason for the holiday, and let us do that from education and dialogue. Let's talk about why it is we're getting a holiday. Let's have the young people and the adults understand the reason, because our young people are guided by us. You know, when our young people fail, I often say, because I'm a parent, that it's something that, did I fail? What did I, But anyhow, there are steps I think that probably need to be taken, and that is what this period between this year's holiday and next year's holiday will allow to happen, to put those processes in place, to ensure that there are safeguards, to ensure that it remains a somber day. But I do understand, and I agree with the direction the callers.
Good morning, caller. You're live.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
A couple of questions. First thing, the people who went up to the fort on that day, wasn't it a voluntary process? They voluntarily chose to go up at the fort that day. I would understand that. And secondly, why we have to consider a person a hero when they overthrow a legal government or a state government, and you call them a hero. So in other words, if tomorrow morning I get up in Grenada here and I overthrow the government, then next day you tell me I'm a hero. Why is that possible? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I think the simple response is that there has not been a declaration of any one individual as a national hero at this point in time.
And I think it probably just goes to what the party made in earlier, that there's always going to be this clashing of opinions. Yes. But I think what is going to guide the process is that it's a start. And I think based on the question that the caller, you hinted to it, we may not get it right in 2023, but as we go forward, as we advance, we will then start add significance to the day and the history that's associated with it. We go back to the telephone lines. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Hello. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning
to the panel. Good morning, Jackie. Good morning, Joseph.
Good morning, sir.
It's kind of sad. I'm listening to the next caller, to the caller that called a while ago, asking the question that he asked. Why should Morris Bishop be a national hero? Taking into consideration that I am a younger guy, right? I didn't grow up in the Revolution time, but listening to the what happened during the Revolution, it's only public knowledge that Morris Bishop made an indelible mark on the history of Grenada, taking us into a trajectory that was in a good place. You know what I mean? Taking it over, because certain times things need to be done drastically, Saying that, I really applaud the move that you guys are trying to make by bringing the National Heroes Day. I think that through this initiative, a lot of things will be highlighted in our society that is positive. I want to say thank you for this initiative. What I want is that the schools going forward to be involved in this, so we can make a mark on the youths so they will know exactly what they're celebrating. Because, we have a lot of holidays that people celebrate and they don't know exactly what is celebrated. We have a culture in Grenada that our history is lost during the passage of time. So please ensure that the schools going forward is a big part of this celebration and, and this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
If I can just add, part of this year's commemoration events, it includes the schools. So we have offered transportation to the schools to assemble groups, guided by their school administrator, to come down to the National Stadium to be part of the event. So it's directly targeted, and that's my plea, is that people really take this seriously. And I think also, generally speaking, we have a unique opportunity with this holiday, because I'm not sure in recent history that we can really say that we have been at the beginning of a holiday. So most holidays that we acknowledge have been holidays we just acknowledged over our lifespan. We weren't there when it started. So we have a unique opportunity to form what this day means. So it's in our hands. It's really in our hands, that we can't say we just got a holiday that was handed down and we're happy for it because it's a day off of work. It's in our hands as citizens to really shape what we want this holiday to be going forward.
And when we talk about history and not repeating it,
yes,
and I think that's
part of it.
That's a failure we did with Thanksgiving. Actually, Thanksgiving came in then, from '83.
Yeah,
that while it was given to us for the reflection, that was never done historically. We get a chance to make amends for the failure of Thanksgiving as itself, in us being able to be reflective as a country and really, really pay homage to that which needs to be done.
And just to reiterate, I mean, the young man is absolutely right about educating our young people, because at the end of the day, in 50 years' time, as we've already identified, we won't be here, but they will be, and they are going to have to carry that through for us. And just to reiterate that the teaching of our history, our stories through the curriculum in schools now is critical to that.
And good morning, caller. You're live.
Good morning.
Yes, go ahead. You're live.
I'm having a different look on the whole thing. If you're going to have a National Heroes Day, for persons who say you have to be sad and somber, I think if we're recognizing people who would have made an indelible mark on the country and has done things that are significant to this legacy and history, you don't have to be sad. You don't have to be somber. I think it's a moment that we should recognize them and recognize and enjoy the contribution that they have made and how they have moved the country forward. So I don't think it has to be sad and somber, because something happened on the 19th that was sad. But if we're going to say we're celebrating our heroes, those are great men. And I think it doesn't have to be sad and somber. Because all great things that happen in Grenada doesn't relate to sadness or somberness. Thank you.
I guess we can argue that forever there's always going to be mixed emotions. And it doesn't matter what happens in life, there's always going to be winners, losers. There are those who agree, those who disagree. I think what this calls for, it's reasonable minds, and then seeing it together, as you say, as a start of how we want history to remember Heroes Day. And exactly, I can probably always decide that one of my heroes can be, what's her name? Grand Quarters lady?
Judy Williams.
And I would agree wholeheartedly. And I would bet you that somebody's going to turn and say, well, Joe, she shouldn't be because...
Everybody has a different opinion, and of course everybody has a different view of what took place on the 19th, and will have been impacted by it in many different ways. So the way in which we decide to commemorate, or if you want to use the word celebrate, Heroes Day, is going to be an individual choice. I think as a government, it's important for the government to lift the occasion and to create the environment for people to commemorate it in whichever way they wish as a national event.
We go back to the telephone lines. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Mr. Cadore, and good morning to you again.
Good morning.
I want to say that I appreciate what the committee is doing with the National Heroes Day. I don't think that the people who would be mentioned as heroes all occurred at what happened on October 19th. It could be previous years and so forth. But I want to also support the Thanksgiving on October 25th. Because we in Grenada, who were under house arrest, everybody was under house arrest, there was a statement that made anyone found outside or whatever, you'll be shot at sight. So whether you were hungry, whether you were ill, you couldn't go out to find help. And no one knows what would have taken place after October 19th. We don't know. So God in His infinite mercy sent us a rescue mission. And I think that Thanksgiving is in place for it. It is appropriate, and we should have that 25th holiday as a day of Thanksgiving, not a party day, not a beach day, not a fete day, but a day of Thanksgiving to Almighty God for rescuing Grenada from its own born thugs that killed our people on that day. When I think of it, I think of what's happening in Haiti also. Haitians are killing themselves. So we were killing ourselves, and God in His infinite mercy rescued us. So we have to give thanks. So the 25th is quite appropriate for Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. 435-2041, that's the number that's on the inside. As we anticipated that this conversation was going to conjure up some mixed emotions. We knew it was coming. We knew it was going to happen.
I think it's healthy.
Yes,
I think the dialogue is healthy. I think differences of opinion are healthy. I mean, how do we grow if we don't understand what you're thinking in your mind and how it might influence my thoughts? So I think dialogue is good. I think differences of opinions are good.
Absolutely.
But can we just take a, for those who may have joined us halfway through, to know that we're speaking about the events on the 19th. We want to ensure that everybody.
I just decided because we knew it was going to happen, and we want to stay focused on it. So in case you just joined us, the 19th of October is Heroes Day. It's been declared a public holiday, and certainly there's a number of activities we've intimated that is planned in commemoration or to celebrate to recognize the day depending on how it is.
And that is part of the growth. To the earlier caller speaking about the kind of, I guess it is a slight juxtaposition because we're in our first year of acknowledging this day, and because we have not named any hero this year, the event is more of a commemorative event, you know. And as the years go on, the positioning Heroes Day on October 19th is to ensure that October 19th as an important day in our history never gets forgotten. So when you have Heroes Day on that day, you can say that we didn't just pick a day out of the sky and say June 21st is going to be Heroes Day. The day itself has significant meaning in our history, and that is ensuring that as time passes on and as years, because you look at World War I, for example, I don't know that we have any more veterans alive telling the story or able to tell the story, but it's making sure that the day is remembered, so that even if we weren't there to tell the story, that we have chronicled. Yeah, it's chronicled.
And just to alleviate the last caller's fears, we will be still holding our church service on October 25th in the Catholic Church in Granance. So there will be a service in honour of Thanksgiving Day.
So that is separate and apart.
And that's a separate apart from, yeah.
Right, but today we want to focus
But today we want to focus
the
on
19th. What's happening on the 19th?
People are accustomed to what happens on the 25th. But,
Right.
This is new.
So in case you just joined us, it's 10 minutes on to the hour of 10 o'clock. October 19th, Heroes Day, public holiday. The day starts off with an ecumenical service, Gail.
Correct.
9 a.m., that's correct. And we will have the tolling of the bells across the nation at 1 p.m., where we're asking people to stop in a moment of reverence and silence and reflection. And, whether you're home as a family, whether, you're out, whether you're driving your car, pull up to the side stop and just think, about that day and that moment in time. And at 7 p.m., we'll have the light display where we're asking people to walk with their candles, and we will be having a sort of, I guess, continuation of the commemoration of the lives that were lost on that day in particular. And that's how we're marking it for 2023. It does not necessarily mean that is the exact marking that's going to happen for 2024, because as this process evolves over the next year, it's taking the time to do as we're doing right now, having that dialogue, hearing people, understanding, putting together the criteria to ensure that there is legislation already in place for national heroes, but making sure the criteria for the selection or identification of national heroes is solid, and it's something that can stand the test of time. And I think also understanding that it doesn't necessarily mean that every year a national hero has to be named.
Doesn't have to be
right.
Because it's not like handing out a sweetie. And truly, it's your highest honor. So it's something that has to be well vetted and well thought through.
And you have to say to as well, say to the general, to the public, the population, Grenada, that you may not agree.
Yeah.
You may disagree. And in any hero, you would always find pros and cons. The question is, you have to do the balancing act. The greater good at the end of the day is what has to be answered. Yeah, the person did, however, because let's take for instance when it comes to independence, and some will say, all hail Sir Eric Matthew Gary. And by the time you finish say that, you would hear the counter arguments. The counter arguments is going to come.
Absolutely.
But we have lived with the fact that he's the father of independence, and that's not going to change. So I think this allows us to start all over again and be part of it.
And I think one of the things we didn't add and include, part of this process is the establishment of a Heroes Park going forward, which is very important, because we have to have somewhere where we record, and this is again about owning our history and telling our stories, where we record who have been the significant players in Grenada's history. We need to have, I think it was Angus Martin who said that we don't have monuments of Grenadians who played significant roles in our history. And when I thought about it that way, you go to other countries, other places, and you will see a bust of somebody.
A Cipriani, a bust of Mante,
Where do we have that? And I think it's really that's part of owning that, so that our future generations have something to hold on to that's tangible, and that's a very important. That's part of this process, this 1-year process, in terms of marking and naming heroes, is identifying.
We have a caller on the line.
Hello?
Yes, you're live, sir.
Yes. In connection with the schools, I think the situation in the school should be more educational and looking at the historical aspect of the situation. Having children going down to the stadium to jump up, that wouldn't help the children. Thank you very much.
We're not going to jump up. It's not a jump up occasion.
I'm not even going to, ladies, I love you to comment. I'm not even sure how and where the caller came to the conclusion that we never spoke of a jump up. Let's clear the air.
It's a commemoration. The whole day is as a commemoration to the 19th of October 1983 and the impact it's had on our history and the impact it's had on people individually. It's not a celebration in the sense in the jump up sense of the word. So it's we're coming to the stadium for an ecumenical service and presentations from PBC Choir, as we've already said, from the National Folk Group. So these are not a jump. This is not a jump and wine.
This is a family event.
This is a family event. It's an educational one also.
Yes.
There will be remarks by family members who were deeply impacted by that day. Plus, as I already identified, the scene that will come from the production Redemption Time by Urias Peters. Again, this is an opportunity to hear some of the dialogue from that time. So it really isn't a jump and whine. It really is not, and I don't think anybody would appreciate that.
And we have to be objective, though, that while it isn't fashioned as a day for the hyper excitement, you will just find some people may decide at the end of the day, a small segment, you know what? They may decide, let me knock back a glass. And can we? What are we going to do? But I think holistically, that isn't what it's about either way. Yeah. But let's go back to the telephone lines because people can be our final caller. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Yes, good morning. Just a brief intervention here. It seems to be that many of us do not understand the difference between commemorate versus celebrate. What I would do to avoid these calls, we don't have very much more time, is to use a dictionary definition of these two words that people get to understand. But there's one little observation to make here. We celebrate heroes now. We may commemorate how they die, mourn or commemorate them, according to the moment. So I see a bit, and I think that we should further discuss whether we should join both the commemoration on the 19th, which was a solemn and somber day in the history of the country, and at the same time celebrate the great efforts, feats, and things that great people did, or say, considered people in the country. I see, a conflict there. Finally, I'd like to ask, how soon do you think we'd get to know as a people the names, which comprises the committee, the selection committee, and also the criteria for the selection of the people which we propose to set as heroes into the future? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
I'll take the last first. I guess that's going to happen over the next year. Yeah. As we sit here right now, I can't say it's going to happen June 24th, but it's a process that has started, and there are discussions that are already happening. So that will evolve over the period of the next year.
And certainly the platform is going to be here for once that process starts.
Absolutely.
That would allow for us to have this kind of public dialogue.
Absolutely.
And so. But one of the things we keep talking about, and I keep wanting to highlight, is that we talk about our young people not having lost that sense of direction. That's just one of the reasons why historically they've lost that sense of direction. Who do we mimic? Who do we copycat? Who do we go back historically to say, you know what? At Trinidad, they would talk about Cipriani. Who would talk about Bustamante? They talk about all of the great leaders. In Grenada, who do we have to say to our young people, you know what? This is one of our forefathers. Do we do that? I think let's see this as an investment, not in us, but in our young people, the future. And I think we started off by articulating that, and we're probably going to end, Gail, by further articulating. This is not about those who've gone. Those who are still here, you've lived life. But for how do we fashion a future that we can sit back 20 years from now in the latter days of our lives and say, you know what? We've done something good.
Yeah. It's our opportunity to turn the tide.
Yeah.
You know, we can't just sit back and say lost. We have to direct it, and I think we have a responsibility as the seniors in our, society to start to set the path for our future generations to come and leave an example for them to live with.
I just want to be careful as to who you're referring to as seniors, Gail. Just on the lighter side of life. Folks, this is where the conversation ends, but reminding you that October the 19th here is there. It's going to be a public holiday. Start planning on what it is that you want to do with the family. As a community, as a village.
You want to come to the stadium.
But what is your plan? You want to come to the stadium. Yes. And what are you? Maybe after that you can then decide. But they're going to remind us, just before we go. So we start in the morning ecumenical service.
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
Early James Athletic Stadium.
There's a tolling of the bells at 1.
Tolling of the bells at 1. Moment of silence. And then the candlelight vigil at 7.
At 7.
And, if you are going to come from Grenville or St. Patrick's and you want to spend the day, there's nothing wrong with, after the service and so on, going down to the beach if you so choose, or finding, somewhere to go and sit with your family or do a little sightseeing so that you can stay around for the evening event. Nothing wrong with that.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
What's going to be wrong is if we decide to continue this conversation, because it's already 2 minutes gone past the hour of 10 o'clock. I want to say thanks to you two wonderful ladies. I'm Jacqueline Alexis, and you're the chair of the National Celebrations Committee, and also joining with you is one of your partners as part of the planning process. Yep. She wears a number of hats. We want to say thanks to you, Gail, for being part of today's conversation. Reminding you folks that we live, we learn, and we love. History is all gone, as I say every day. Yesterday is all gone, but it's history. Tomorrow is yet to come. It's called the future. What do we have today? It's a present. It's called a gift. Let's learn to appreciate and accept the fact that we are here and ask ourselves, how can we be part of that which is yet to come? Until then, so long, everybody. For those of you that's on television, well, I leave you for now. For our radio, our listeners, I continue with you up until 12 midday. Until then, so long.